So if you're like one of my listeners, you've been trying to scale your side hustle business with affiliate marketing, whatever, you get most of your work done during nights and weekends, and you're trying to scale your business, but you're doing it on a limited budget. If you're tired of spinning your wheels and spending more and more time to get the same results, this episode is for you. Welcome to the Affiliate Guy Podcast. If you want to grow your income, serve your tribe, and enjoy all the benefits of affiliate marketing and having your own affiliates, you're in the right place. Thanks for joining me today. Let's get started. So I got an awesome question from a podcast listener recently, a guy named Todd Rich. He is trying to scale his side hustle business. He's trying to scale it using affiliate marketing. He gets most of his work done during nights and weekends. Maybe that sounds familiar to you. Maybe that is you, right? But he's starting to scale. He's starting to scale a little bit. He's starting to delegate more. But he wants to get his business going. He wants to scale more, but he's struggling to balance this scaling versus delegating side of things. So I'm going to cut to Todd's question so you can hear his question straight from him. If you want to submit a question, just go to asktheaffiliateguy.com and you can submit your question there, and then I might answer it here on the podcast. So here's Todd's question.
Hi, good afternoon, Matt. I just listened to your podcast, How to Succeed in Business Without Sacrificing Your Family, Health, or Life. I do find that my website, I have an affiliate site, into a lot of my time for nights and weekends, and I am looking to delegate more tasks, but I also do want to scale my site with more content. So the issue I'm having is, wouldn't delegating also go against scaling? Because I don't have the money then to pay for more content because I'm paying more people to delegate. At this point, my site is making low 4 figures per month. A lot of time on content and on tech stuff. And right now I've hired an SEO firm, a few writers, and a programmer. I may want to also add a VA because I do spend a lot of time editing the articles I get. So I was kind of just wanting to get your thoughts on that. How do I delegate and also scale at the same time when I only have a limited budget? I don't know the answer to that. So the only other thing I can think of is, instead of getting more content to scale, I guess I could try promoting more of it or building my email list with like a lead magnet. But really, I think the more content is what scaling is. All right. Thanks so much.
So the scaling versus delegating kind of conundrum, right? It's like the chicken or the egg, right? He knows he's wasting time on non-essential tasks. Okay, he acknowledges that. There are some things in his business. We all do this. I still do this now. There are things I do in my business where I look back and go, golly, that was worth what? I spent 2 hours and made what? $4 doing that? If you think about it, as an entrepreneur, it's easy to do that. If you work for somebody and they pay you, say, $25 an hour, and you spend 2 hours a day doing $4 an hour work or $2 an hour work, you're stealing from them. Just effectively, if they're paying you $25 an hour, you better darn well be doing $26 an hour work, or you're not going to last very long. But as entrepreneurs, it's really easy to do that because what has to be done, somebody has to do these things, right? So it's like I said, it's this chicken or the egg situation. You don't have enough time to scale, but you don't have enough money to delegate more. So what should Todd do? And what should you do in order to scale your business on a limited budget? Well, that's the question I want to answer today. I'm going to walk you through step by step how I did it and how I coach others to do it today. Like I said at the top of the show, if you're in a situation where you're just spinning your wheels, right? You're spending more and more time to get the same results. Because here's the weird thing about business. But I found this to be true with every business I've ever had. This is my 4th business. The time will expand and the revenue doesn't necessarily. We go through these phases. So I found that we go through these phases where I'm like, wait a minute, I spent 3 hours more on average a week last month. Our revenue was the same. What the heck was that? And there are seasons to that, of course. I'll give you an example, about this time of year, in fact, I've got to get it to them like now. our accountant asked for, we're running some estimates to make sure that we haven't underpaid or overpaid on taxes. Because we don't want to, I'm not going to get into that, but we don't want to overpay on taxes. I'm not one of those people who celebrates getting a tax refund. I think it's dumb. You really, if you study it, you just gave an interest-free loan to the U.S. government for a year. I mean, like, congratulations, you got a tax refund. You could have just kept, you got a $5,000 tax refund. That's awesome. You could have kept $425 a month every month and spent it better than the government did. But anyway, that's not the point. But the point of that is when I do that tax estimate, I'm going to do that tax estimate sometime this week. I'm going to sit down with my wife, Tara, who's our CFO, and we're going to sit down with him, and we're going to spend about 2 hours putting together that estimate. Technically, there's no revenue that comes from that. Now, if he looks at that and goes, yeah, we're $27,000 over on taxes, so we can basically not withhold anything for the next couple of months, then yeah, we save some money in those 2 months. That's awesome. But we run those numbers and it's like, we have to do them and it doesn't have a revenue event tied to it. And so there are times like that. There are times where it's like, man, I spent 20 hours to build that thing and didn't see anything from it this month, but I'll see it in June. I spent 4 hours-ish on the phone last week with prospective affiliates for our launch. It's not till February into March. I'm not going to see anything from that right now. So that's normal. That's ebb and flow, right? But we want to learn how to consistently not do that. And we want to scale on a limited budget. And so what I would tell Todd, this is for you. I told you I would record this episode, is what I would do is I would hire a VA. And you may already have a VA. So then what we're going to do is we're going to bump them up 5 hours a week. That's your next step. At $10 or less an hour. If you hire someone from overseas, it's going to be $10 or less an hour. And that frees you up to do work that pays you $20 an hour. Not $100 an hour. It's not like that. We're just freeing up 5 hours a week to do $20 an hour of work. So you do the math on that. That first week, you'll probably just lose the $50. That's how I look at it. The first week is all training. The second week, you're still going to spend a little bit of time. You're going to spend 2 hours instead of 5. Well, the cool thing is you spend those 3 doing $20 hour work and you paid $50. And now you've paid 100, 50 plus 50. You've made 60. You're only $40 in the hole. The next week, you pay another 50, but you have the full 5 hours effectively to make $20 an hour. You're now at about break even. That's the cool thing. And now going forward, you're profitable. And so typically I just say for the first month, you're going to break even when you do this. It may even be for the first 2 or 3 weeks, whatever. You may even go 5 weeks. It just kind of depends. You're going to be about break even. And then you hire someone for that $20 an hour work. And that could be the same VA. And it just requires more training and more trust and a lot more hand-holding early on. We just did this with something on our team. There's a particular, I'll just say what it is. I've always enjoyed doing our social media posts. I love it. It's actually fun for me. Creating the videos from these podcasts and turning it into social media content. It's really easy for me to do. It only takes me maybe 5 minutes. 5 minutes on the high end. But I was like, 2 episodes a week, 5 minutes, that's 10 minutes a week. Is that the best use of my time? No, I can't hire anybody full time for those 10 minutes a week. There's really not a whole lot else in our company that I can add on to that would fit a skill set that would allow me to be able to hire somebody for, say, 2 hours a week, like a contractor. So I'm like, well, why don't I just take my assistant, Kevin? And I recorded a 45-minute video of me doing like 6 examples to walk him through everything. He then asked for feedback on the first 5, and I gave him feedback, and he asked for feedback on the next 5, and I gave him feedback, and then on the next 10, he just showed me, and I signed off. He's good to go now. Total, I invested about 90 minutes, so about 9 weeks worth of effort. It's 9 weeks before I break even in terms of, the financial investment's so infinitesimal, but 9 weeks in terms of breaking even in terms of time. And I hope he's with us for a long time, and I think he will be. He's been with us for at least, how long has Kevin been with us? 3 or 4 years now? Feels like he's been with us for a long, long time. And Kevin, I know you listen. You're amazing. You're absolutely a rock star. Remind me how long you've been with us. I'm going to have to look it up. I don't know, but I feel like you've been with us for like 3 or 4 years. And the cool thing is, he's now taking over that task. And what we did was we actually added more to it. So instead of just me spending 10 minutes a week and him saving me those 10 minutes, he's now getting more done and actually doing more posts. And so we're getting more results, 2 to 3 times more results for none of my time. But even if I just look at it, the same results, after 9 weeks, I get to save the next 43 plus the next 52 plus the next 52 for the next 150 plus weeks. I don't have to do that. That's a win. That's a win right there. And then what we do is we find that next thing that's worth this much money. So you go from $20 per hour and you go to, okay, now we hire somebody who's doing the $30 an hour work. And maybe I'm paying them instead of, $10 an hour to start, the person to start off with, or $7 an hour, whatever it is. I'm going to pay the $30 stuff that I was doing is worth $30 an hour. I'm going to pay somebody $15 or $20 an hour to do that. And you just keep scaling up what you're paying to be able to scale up your revenue. Now, the cool thing is eventually you start hitting numbers where people are doing work that you're paying $40 or $50 an hour for, but they're making you $400 or $500. Initially, you're having them do the kind of the grunt work that actually, truth be told, might not even, they might be doing work that's you pay $7.50 an hour for and that's only bringing in $5 an hour. But it frees you up to do $20 an hour work, especially when you have limited time, as we all do. You go full time. You're like, I have unlimited time now. No, you don't. You got to sleep. You got to eat. You got to do some stuff. You got to have some sort of a life outside of work. But even if you don't, okay, you still only have 90 hours a week, 100 hours a week. That's not unlimited. That's still very finite. And so you keep hiring up and you take that money and you reinvest so you can scale and delegate simultaneously. And so what we recommend, this is just kind of a basic formula, is when we think about this, initially, as we're adding our first roughly half-time person. So if you start a VA at 5 hours a week, until you get to the point where they're about 20 hours per week, which could happen very fast. Typically, we see that happen within 2 to 4 months of somebody starting to work with a virtual assistant. All the money goes to reinvesting into the business at that point. We're not going to increase our profit really or increase our income. And what I mean by that is if you're paying, say, $7.50 an hour, we'll just go with $10. That's easier for me to do math. You're paying somebody $10 an hour, 5 hours a week, and you now free yourself up to do $20 an hour work, and you're making 100, you're paying 50, you take that 50 and immediately reinvest it into upping their hours. Immediately. You turn that money around. Like it never even hits you. You just give it right back into the assistant. And then we're going to pay them 100 while we work on bringing in, 200-300. You take that money, reinvest it up. Now, once you have one person at halftime, from that point until you have about 2 full-time employees, we're going to take about a quarter of that money, and it's going to be pure income. You get to increase your income. You get to take home more money. So let's say you're now netting $300 a week from that. Great. You're going to take home $75 more. That's important for you psychologically. It's important if you have a spouse for them to see some of that money because they see the money going back into the business and they're like, yeah, but I didn't get to go out for a nice dinner this week. We're still struggling to pay the kids, baseball. We didn't get to do, what's going on here? So we want to see some of that. We want to take some of that and put it into, investing back in ourselves. That's important. We're going to take about half of it and reinvest it into spending into the business, and then we're going to set the other quarter aside in the business. So if you're bringing in, $500 a week now, extra money that you weren't, it's $125 that goes to you. You get to spend this money. You get to take your wife out, your husband out. You get to go out to a nice dinner, maybe every other week instead of like never. You get to go buy something that you've been wanting to buy, fix something, and save it up for a month, and like fix the thing that's been annoying you in your house. Like, I know what that's like. You get that thing, you just eventually learn to live with it. And then finally you're like, wait a minute, we have the money to fix that. Why don't we just do it? Oh yeah, I forgot we had that money. So fix the thing, do whatever. And then you're going to take another quarter and you're going to save that. So in this example, another 125, and it's just going to sit there in your business bank account. And then you're going to reinvest 250 pretty rapidly into, to scaling more, to hiring other people, to being able to delegate other things. Again, that's a general rule of thumb. If you wanted to save a little bit more, that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just giving you general rules of thumbs. If you want to take a little bit more, that's totally fine too. Then once you get up to 2 full-time people, then you can take those percentages and begin to change them. And so you want to start taking home a little bit more. So from your third person, until about your 5th or 6th or 7th person, just somewhere in there, it's up to you. We now take home a third. We save a third because our expenses are going up, and we reinvest a third. And then once we hit about, that 6th person or so, now we're going to save even more. We're going to reinvest less. There's a lot less to reinvest because the numbers are getting higher. And we're going to take home a little bit more. And then eventually over time, it just becomes a matter of, you get to decide how much do you want? How much do you want to make? And how much do you want to reinvest and how much do you want to save? And typically what we'll see, once somebody hits a certain number of employees, and again, it varies, is the owner of the business will take home somewhere between 35 and 50%. About a third to 40% will be saved, and about 10, 15% will be reinvested. Now, eventually you hit the point where you've saved enough and you can begin to either reinvest more or, take home more. Those are your choices. We recommend, and numerous people preach very similar things. We recommend having a minimum of 3 months expenses in the bank. When you're starting off as a business, you have a VA at $50, a week. And maybe let's say you have a ClickFunnels account. So we'll just say $200 a month for your virtual assistant, a ClickFunnels account, a ConvertKit account, a plugin that you pay for on WordPress, your domain name, and maybe like 2 other things. And you have, I don't know, $600 a month. We'll go $700 a month, right? So initially you with that, and you don't have a huge, you don't have payroll and stuff in your VA, you pretty much cash flow it. If you keep $1,000 in the bank, that's fine. But again, if you're adding $100 a week or $200 a week or even $50 a week, eventually you got, $2,000, $3,000 there. That's more than enough, in saved up expenses. As those numbers increase, when you hire that person, so here's another, going back to this example, you're getting ready to increase from a 20-hour a week virtual assistant to now you're adding another half-time person. So you're going to increase from, I'm going to do some quick math, $1,000 a week, I think that's not bad. $200 a week, so $800 a month. You're going to increase to $1,600 a month just in staff expenses. So you're doubling your expenses overall. Well, I would recommend for at least, 2 months before that you start increasing that savings percentage. Typically, I would just take away from, both the profit and immediate reinvesting. I would just go hoard cash for a couple of months, as our accountant would say. We're just going to hoard cash so that when you hire that person and suddenly your expenses go from, overall they go from $1,000 to $2,000 a month, then instead of only having $3,000 in the bank, you got, $5,000 or $6,000 in the bank. And then for the next couple of months after you hire them, same kind of thing. You're increasing that savings percentage to be able to account for that. And so again, the objective here, the same rules apply to hiring anyone, whether it's a virtual assistant or anyone. You want to hire them to do work that is lower than either what they're making. Okay, so you're paying $20 an hour for them to make you 30, or that frees you up. Maybe you're paying them $15 an hour to do $15 an hour work. That's fine if it frees you up to do $40 an hour work. You could pay somebody $100,000 a year to make you $100,000 if it frees you up to make $1 million. So if it frees you up, that's fine. They either need to free you up to do work that pays more than you are paying them, or you need to hire for a few new projects that make you more than you pay on, if that makes sense. You want to pay them less than they're bringing in for you, or pay them less than what you're able to bring in on your own by freeing you up. So if you're looking for some good virtual assistant services, I highly recommend my two favorites. The first is called Get Friday. It's a service I've used since 2005, I believe. And they're absolutely amazing. You can find them at mattmcwilliams.com/Get Friday. They're all based over in India, but they speak better English than I do. I mean, absolutely. Like, their English is better than mine, no doubt about it. And so they work our hours too. So my VA works basically the same schedule that I do. I think he starts like maybe a half hour later and ends about a half hour later, but otherwise we're pretty much overlapping. And they're absolutely amazing. The other one, if you're looking for someone who is more focused, who knows the marketing stuff better, especially product launches, Virtual Staff on Demand. I cannot recommend enough, but my friend Tim Becca, these are like highly trained launch and funnel experts. Okay. So if they're specifically trained for online businesses and people who are doing, product launches, or you've got some sort of an evergreen offer, you've got a course, things like that. They're absolutely amazing. So if you just go to mattmcwilliams.com/VSD for Virtual Staff, I guess I technically should have put an O in there, but go to mattmcwilliams.com/VSD, Virtual Staff on Demand. Check out Timby's, service. I mean, it's really cool. The other cool thing about them is all of her virtual assistants. Again, they're highly trained in product launch and internet marketing world. Okay, and I've actually, I'll say this: I've not used their service, but I worked with one of them, and she was absolutely amazing. Absolutely. She was a student. He was a student of ours in our Find Affiliates Now course. She asked better questions than anybody else did. And she was just amazing, right? They're all from Zimbabwe. It's a country that, it's a third world country, and there's no other way to put it. The unemployment rate is north of 90% there. And, we're talking it's a country that's very abusive towards women. And yet they're able to do the work that they're doing because of Timby. So I'm not suggesting, I don't run my business as a charity. I don't. I donate very generously to charities personally, but my business is not a charity. We run a business. Our goal is to be profitable so that we can support organizations. But all things being equal, if you need somebody who's trained in product launch world and internet marketing world, give Virtual Staff on Demand a try, because you'll be helping some amazing people who need the help. Very affordable, awesome business. Timby is, she comes from, Jeff Walker's world. That's how we got to know each other. So she's absolutely amazing. She was actually the spokesperson for his mastermind for, a couple of years ago. So she knows that world, and she trains her people that way. So if you need somebody more general, somebody to take over your calendar, take over some of that stuff, Get Friday is who we recommend. Again, mattmcwilliams.com/Get Friday. If you need help with your launches, check out Virtual Staff on Demand, mattmcwilliams.com/VSD. Take what you've learned in this episode and apply it to working with them. Start off with 5 hours a week to free yourself up. Add another 5 in a month or two. Add another 5. Just keep scaling up from there. Just keep reinvesting Keep enjoying some of your profits. Keep saving. That's the secret. So that is how you scale your business on a limited budget. Todd, I hope that answers your question. And for those of you wondering out there, I hope that answers yours. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening today. Remember to check out all of our deep dives into affiliate marketing at theaffiliateguide.tv. And if you have a question, ask it at asktheaffiliateguide.com. Who knows? Maybe you even be featured on an upcoming episode. And lastly, if you haven't yet, make sure to leave a rating and review wherever you're listening to this episode. See you soon.